with Terry Bow.
Thank you so much, Jake, and welcome everyone to Community Comment. And today our guest is Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt. Sheriff, welcome to the program.
Always a pleasure to be here.
We've got a lot to talk today, particularly about updating the radio system for public safety all over Dodge County. But if you would like to join the program and ask the sheriff a question about just about anything, of course you can do that. The number to call or text is 920-887-8585, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. Well, let's just jump right in, and by way of background, for some time now, this has been in the works. The radio system that communities in Dodge County have right now, they don't work well together. It's been a problem. We're going to detail those throughout the program, but there are efforts now to improve all of that. I'll let you take it from there.
All right. Yeah, there's. We've talked about it here on this program a number of months ago. We've had some challenges throughout Dodge County with just our normal coverage, and there's a number of reasons for that. I just pushed out today on our Sheriff's Office Facebook page, our app, a letter that I put out to the public, and it's a lengthy one. So you're going to need to sit down and take some time to read this to understand it. But I'm going to try and go through some of that here today so that you can get the Cliff Notes version of really what's going on. But what I don't have in the letter is a number of years ago, I believe it was right around 2011, the federal government narrow banded our radio frequencies, which means there's more frequencies out there, but it really limits the amount of use and the coverage around the entire country, just because they needed more frequencies. And that has impacted us among other things. We have significant challenges in the county, and I want to go through a few examples of coverage issues first, just to give an idea of real life scenarios so that you can understand why this is important. And it isn't just us saying, hey, we need a new radio system. I want you to understand why that we need the system, at least investigate it, identify what the problems are, and try to correct it. So I'm going to start with an incident that happened back in June of 2024. And I think I mentioned that one on the program earlier, like I said, several months ago. We had an attempted homicide that happened down just to the northwest of the city of Watertown in the Richwood area. And that incident was high stress. I actually had 3 of my deputies go into really the hot zone where this individual was barricaded in the house with a firearm. They put their own safety aside to rescue somebody who had been seriously stabbed, picked her up, and it did the 3-person carry down the driveway to the paramedics who were waiting, and they saved her life. It was outstanding work. But while they're doing that, I went back, reviewed radio traffic later. We couldn't understand what they were saying on the radio. Most of it was garbled. And think about watching a TV screen back in the day. We'll go, and it was all static, and you couldn't see anything. Well, that's what it's like for radio communication in some areas of the county for us. That same incident, we called the SWAT team out for. I was down there with our incident command vehicle, really about a quarter mile away from where the scene was. There's a little bit of a knoll between me and the scene, but my SWAT commander was in front of the house. He was on a portable radio, which we carry on our hip. I couldn't understand him. There was no ability to figure out what he wanted, what he needed, what resources he needed. That's my job as an incident commander, to give him resources. I couldn't understand him. He went back to his mobile radio in his squad. It was a little bit better, but still was a huge struggle. He couldn't communicate with his team in the house, which is only a couple hundred feet away from him at most. He's trying to give directions on what to do. They encountered the subject inside the house. He couldn't. He was trying to give them good direction to keep them safe while taking this person into custody. Thankfully, it all worked out, but we could not talk to each other. It was an awful situation and left me feeling helpless as that incident commander. We've got a couple other incidents I just want to briefly go through with you to help you understand the gravity of this. We had some searches. Most of these are 2024 because those are the ones I documented before going to committee. We had a marsh rescue that we were trying to find an individual out in the Horicon Marsh. A couple of the chiefs out there, fire chiefs, were out there trying to communicate with dispatch. unable to make those communications. Dispatchers getting frustrated because they couldn't understand what the fire chiefs needed. And I know that Fire Chief Howlett from the CLR Fire Department was doing what we affectionately call the Statue of Liberty maneuver, where he's taking his portable radio, holding it above his head, trying to get additional coverage so that he can be heard back in dispatch. Put that in terms of law enforcement. I've got somebody who maybe is fighting with me, and I'm rolling on the ground with them, trying to fight with them, trying to communicate. I don't have the ability to pull it out of my holster on my hip and hold it above my head and try to communicate back to dispatch. That's a real problem for us. Another one that happened around roughly in that time frame. I'm headed down to a crash, driving in my squad. There's a crash, 151-73 area, just into Dodge County, and we've got one individual who unfortunately died. And we thought somebody else was in that car, thought maybe they were ejected, thought maybe they were laying on a highway somewhere. I'm getting in the area. Other deputies are on scene looking with the fire department. I can literally see my guys walking around a couple hundred feet away from me, trying to communicate with them on the radio from my portable or from my squad radio, the more high-powered radio. They couldn't hear me. I couldn't hear them, and I can literally see them. Another one, we have a pursuit up in the Lemire area. I'm going across in Waupun, across the marsh, in my squad, the one that's got a more powerful radio again. I can't hear what dispatch is saying to my deputies, what my deputies are saying, where the pursuit is going. I can't change my course to try and intercept. I'm trying to make decisions, and I can't because I cannot communicate. Those are only a few of the one more I want to highlight. This one's a bigger one. June 22nd, 2024. We had major storms come through Dodge County, knocked out the power to our radio site in Reeseville. And when you knock out Reeseville, there's no redundancy in that area. There's other redundancy in other areas, but there's nothing. Power went down, and we had zero communication for law enforcement, fire, EMS. From halfway between Beaver Dam and I would say Danville area, from Columbus to Reeseville, all the way down to the county line in the south, we had no communication down there. I'm down there, and there is a drowning call happening just south of Beaver Dam. I'm probably one of the closest squads to that incident. I didn't even know what was going on for several minutes until I finally saw it on my computer screen, and I responded up. Thankfully, Beaver Dam Fire and EMS had good coverage in Beaver Dam. They responded. They were there. But had that been farther out in the county, farther away from Beaver Dam Fire and EMS, I would have never known if my response could have changed the outcome of that, because I didn't know what was going on. And so that's major. That's an entire quadrant of Dodge County that was down because of a storm, because of a power issue. We've done some temporary things that we think can hold us over for the time being, so hopefully that doesn't happen again. But I felt absolutely horrible when I got there. And unfortunately, the individual passed away, and all I could do was console the victims. And I'm sitting there thinking, what if I could have responded earlier because I couldn't hear what was going on? So those are a few of the serious issues that we have, and that's just me. I'm not on patrol all the time. I'm sure my deputies, the firefighters, the other police officers in the county could give all kinds of different examples of how the radio system has failed and really is putting our citizens in jeopardy.
We have a lot more to talk about in terms of the problems that we're experiencing and some solutions that are in the pipeline, but we have to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
studios with Terry Bell. We do have a caller on the line as well. As always, you are all invited to call in here to Community Comment. And again, you are listening to 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Here's Terry Bell.
Thank you, Jake, and let's welcome the caller on to Community Comment. Caller, you're talking to Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt.
Hi, Terry. Hi, Dale. How are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
Doing good. Let's see if I got a real stopper for you today.
Okay.
Have you ever come to a situation where you just didn't know what to do, or you got panicked, didn't know what to do, and then all of a sudden thought through, and then you knew what to do?
Oh, I tell you, we get all kinds of strange incidents that pop up that sometimes you just got to take a minute and think about it. Thankfully, a lot of times we can do that. Sometimes we don't have a whole lot of time to think through it. But we've had a lot of challenging situations where we'll be sitting, especially the more complex ones, investigations. But when we get some of these more critical incidents, we sit there and we'll sit around a table, especially when we've got our admin team together and or even a couple commanders, and we'll sit through and what are our options. And what I like to do when I have time is take options from my team to see what they have to think about. Because as a leader, I don't have to be an expert in everything. I just need to take good advice from those around me and make a good decision with that information. So it happens more frequently than you think. I don't know everything, nor do I claim to, and I have to rely on those around me to help me out when I can.
I was just curious. Thank you, and thank you for your service. Much appreciated.
Thank you, Tyler. Have a great day.
Thank you, caller. And if you have a question or a comment, you can call or text us at 920-887-8585, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. Yeah, that's got to be a part of your training and your ongoing professional development is, being able to think quick on your feet and definitely gather information, but also be prepared to pivot if you have to.
Yeah, you never know when somebody puts you in a situation that seconds matter and you got to make a decision right now. And oftentimes that's the case where you're out in the street and somebody does something you don't ever expect to do. And it could be something as simple as making a maneuver when you're driving in an emergency mode to avoid a collision, to somebody is threatening yours or somebody else's life, and you have to make a split-second decision, which is why what we're talking about is so important with the radio communication, being able to get a hold of people and say, hey, I need help, and I need it right now. And if you've got garbled communication and you can't ask for help, it might not be coming.
Certainly. You're saying that inoperability is a problem with the current radio system.
Yeah. So the 9/11 Commission, after the 9/11 crashes out in New York and D.C. and Pennsylvania, really outlined that law enforcement needs to have better interoperability nationwide. We can't have silos. We can't have the inability to communicate from agency to agency. Well, that really, here we are in 2026, that has never been addressed here really in Dodge County and much of the state of Wisconsin, and there's still silos, and we see it right here in our county. So our county is on what's called a conventional VHF system. Very high frequency is what VHF stands for. And in our neighbor to the south, the city of Watertown, is on a 800 megahertz system. Trunked system, and those two systems don't talk to each other. I can't turn a radio dial on my radio and talk to Watertown PD. They can't do it, turn a radio dial and talk to us unless we have a very expensive dual band radio, which there are a couple of those out there. But the most part, my deputies can't talk to Watertown PD deputies. They have to call Watertown dispatch to communicate to our dispatch. Our dispatch then plays a telephone game to notify our deputies. It's problematic. And within our own county, that's very challenging, something I've been trying to work on for years, but because of the two systems not being able to talk to each other, it's a real struggle.
And that's really important because, public safety emergencies don't recognize jurisdictions.
Right.
So there are times when I'm sure you would like to be able to talk to the Watertown police much more quickly than you can now.
Crashes that happen on Highway 16 where we both have jurisdiction in certain areas, as an example. Or, in the city of Beaver Dam, a major incident goes on here, we hear it, and we start responding. And we're there to assist them with whatever incident is going on. We know what's going on there. Watertown, we have no idea until they call. And so now you've got minutes, seconds seconds and minutes and sometimes more than that if somebody doesn't think about it before we can even start thinking about going in that direction. So it is a real struggle for us, and it's expanded beyond that. We have the same problem with the State Patrol. They have to buy dual band radios or have multiple radios in their cars to be able to hear and to communicate with us. We can't listen to what they're doing. Dane County, Waukesha County, Washington County, Fond du Lac County, all of those counties are on different systems as well. So they have a pursuit that comes into our county. We're playing that telephone game through our dispatch centers out to our patrol. And a great example of that, a pursuit came up from Dane County into Dodge County. We thought it was a pursuit. Turns out they were just following it, waiting for us to get there. So we're going lights and sirens trying to get to what we believe is a pursuit because of that telephone game. And it was never actually a pursuit in the first place. And so those telephone game issues constantly cause problems for us in Dodge County and around Dodge County. And then when we have bigger incidents, and we'll go back to President Trump coming to Dodge County, our radios didn't work with one another. I had to issue out some radios to people. We had to come up with frequencies that worked so we could all work together. And whether it's that or, we have some massive incident that happens here in the county or another county where we have to go there, our radios don't work with one another. And communication is very problematic. And so interoperability between our agencies like the 9/11 Commission really recommends does not happen here in the state of Wisconsin. And if we get a radio project through, my goal is to have the ability to communicate not only with all agencies in the county, but all of our surrounding counties as well.
Very good. And of course, now solutions to these problems are being discussed at the county level. The Board of Supervisors, I believe, has taken this up and is in the process of going through recommendations that a consultant made.
Yeah, so I've asked them to create an ad hoc committee, the Public Safety Radio Communications Committee, to bring us all together. We've got 12 members from around our community, firefighters, police chiefs, highway department, county supervisors on that, and we've gone through a number of meetings. We brought in Tusa Consulting to give us an idea of what the issues are, which we can talk about in a little bit, in hopes of coming up with a solution. So we've had a number of meetings. Last week we had vendor fair where the big four companies that really do this types of things come in and showcase their equipment as we work to develop an RFP, request for proposals, so that we can get some real numbers. To this point, we've only had guesstimates on how much it's going to cost us to do any kind of a project. And so we can't really do any planning with guesstimates. So we're putting together an RFP to put out to the vendors so that they can give us real costs. And one thing that's really nice is the state right now has two really big radio systems that are competing with each other, and they both want Dodge County in the worst way. And so that is a benefit to us in our bargaining, because now all these companies are going to want our business, and in order to do that, they're going to have to compete heavily to do so. So that's where the committee is at right now. I'm the vice chair of 12, and our emergency management director, Joe Maher, is on it as well. He and I are really trying to drive the committee to move forward with an RFP so that we can find out what are the costs. After we got the study back, it really showed a couple major issues: the interoperability and the coverage, and some other things. And they made a recommendation to us that we need to look at replacing it. The equipment is 20 plus years old. It's end of life. It has to be replaced. It's like keeping a 20 plus year old laptop to run an emergency system. You're going to get that blue screen of death that nobody wants to see right in the middle of a critical incident. And so it's time to do that replacement.
So much more to talk about with Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt. We do have to take a quick break for the news, but we'll be right back. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge. Thank you so much, Jake, and welcome back to Community Comment, everybody. We're talking to Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt. Today we're talking a lot about the need for an improved radio system, but if you have a question or comment about anything, please go ahead and get in touch with us. You can join the conversation by calling 920-887-8585. You can text that number too, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. We'll just list off some of the problems that you're experiencing with the current radio station. One of them being a time delay interference.
Yeah, time delay interference. I'm just going to try not to be technical on this. We have 900 square miles in Dodge County. It's a huge county, and we have 9 different sites around the county. And when you're driving around, when we talk on a radio, they transmit to the radio, and then we get a receive back from the tower. And as you drive around, think about it, your distances change. And so the time it takes for your signal to get to the tower and then back is different. And so what we have in Dodge County is a simulcast system. All of them are timed so that they send it out to you. It's supposed to time it so that it repeats it and you can understand it. Because if it's off just a split second, easiest way I can explain it is you have 2 people singing a song in unison, it sounds great. But if one starts a half a second late, it sounds awful. And that's really the easiest way for me to explain what time delay interference is. We have that in Dodge County because of so many sites. They're not timed the right way. Eventually, it starts drifting off. We added an additional tower, which created some issues. So that is a big issue that we have in Dodge County. We've got some things we're working on to try and fix that temporarily, but that is a big issue for us. Another issue that we were going to touch on is called it's a VHF noise floor issue. And that's another problem we have. So many things in our community create VHF noise. And so VHF noise is created by, it could be anything from an engine to an LED light, other VHF frequencies. And think of VHF noise like you walk into a really crowded room and everybody's shouting. Think of a really noisy bar, and you walk in and you just talk in a normal tone. Nobody's going to hear you because you hear all these other voices around you. That's what the VHF noise floor is for us. And we have to get power on our radios enough to get over the top of all of that so that we can transmit. And particularly in the west half of our county, we have a really hard time doing that. We have to have some really, really powerful radios to get over the top of that, and it creates a lot of this issue like we saw down in the Watertown area I talked about with that that attempted homicide at the beginning of the show. So those are a couple major problems that we have with our radio system that we're looking to resolve as part of this project.
Right. And now we're in the potential solutions. Well, not potential solutions. There's going to be a solution, and it's at the county board level, or at least at the committee level. And tell us what's happening now. How close are we to getting the better system that you need?
It's about 2 to 3 years down the road before we get anything up and running. We're going to do some optimization right now to get us there with the system that we have. Kind of like doing the Windows updates on the 2.3 version system, Windows systems ago, to try and get you to when the launch of the next Windows install. That's kind of where we're at. We're trying to keep it optimized. The thing with the Beaver Dam Tower is it is the oldest tower in our radio system, one of the oldest towers out there. It's got old tubes. It is really, really outdated. There is nothing we can do to update it. We can't put new equipment in. It is jam-packed already. The tower is simply not going to be usable in the future. That, with the fact that Beaver Dam Fire Station might move, means that tower wouldn't exist there anyway. We're going to have to do something. So that's all up in the air. But that's another concern for us is what are we going to do if all of a sudden the Beaver Dam Fire Department does move, and where are we going to go temporarily? I'm thinking they'll probably coincide with one another, but that's something we're going to have to talk about. But regardless, that tower is so outdated. It's just not going to be user friendly for us, and we're going to have a new site.
Another question occurs to me. This is not just a matter for the Dodge County Sheriff's Office. every jurisdiction, every community within Dodge County also needs to get on board, also needs to change their radio systems.
Yeah, well, it is all one Dodge County system, with the
It is?
exception
Okay.
Beaver Dam and Watertown have their own systems. The goal here is to make it one system. That everybody uses the one system, and then maintenance is done on the one system, not multiple systems. That's my goal. Beaver Dam PD is operating on a different system. They don't necessarily have to, but it would be more efficient if we went on one system. But all of them, fire, PDs, and Department of Public Works, EMS, all of them use this system today as it is, and so it has to operate for everybody. Which really comes into cost. And we don't know what the costs are going to be, but we are looking at options of what can we do to defray some of the costs. And I talk about that in that letter that I mentioned at the beginning of the hour that I wrote. We're looking at ways to identify ways to reduce the cost. Every municipality in the county that has a public safety entity should have received communication from Emergency Management Director Joe Maher to apply for a radio grant to replace some radios, and it sounds like a number did. We certainly did at the county, applied for that. There's a public safety answering point grant we're looking for to try and pay for some of these things. Trying to get those grants in place now that are available now before we even get an RFP back. It's kind of tough, but we're writing it in a fashion that once we get the RFP back, we get the quotes. If we move forward, we should be able to buy some of this equipment using those grants. But we don't know what the costs are going to be. We don't know what the county board wants to do. We don't know the method of who's going to acquire them. Do we acquire them all at the county and then issue them out? We don't know how that's all going to work yet. We're still working out any of those details. Right now, we just want to get the costs so that we can then start to figure out solutions to make sure that agencies can budget for replacements that they might need. They're not going to be budgeting for brand new radios, I don't think, in 27. If at earliest, it'd be 28. But we got a long ways to go, and we got a lot of things to get to, so I don't want to get hung up on those things right now. We want to get the costs so that we can start identifying what can we do. Can we lock in prices for a number of years, 5-10 years down the road? What can we do to make this feasible? Because we understand everybody has difficult budgets, and so we need to find a way that we can make this work for everybody. But a lot going into this. We really tried to rush through it here in the last 45 minutes to give an overview. Please read my letter. Go on. I'm sure you'll link it on Daily Dodge in your news story when you get it out, but it's on my Facebook page. It's on the Sheriff's Office app. You can read through that 7-page letter. It gives a lot more detail than what I talked about here today. We have a website. It's at our Dodge County website. The address, we kind of created a sort of easy one. www.co.dodge.wi.gov/radio. So it's our county website, /radio is what the address is. We've got some information there. We're going to continue to put information out there so that everybody can be aware of what's going on with this project. We want to be open and transparent in this. We're not trying to hide anything. We just want everybody to know what the issues are and what we're trying to do to correct it so that we don't have another tragedy happen and we can't communicate to keep people safe, whether it be Mayville PD, Horicon PD, the Sheriff's Office, any of the EMS fire departments that are out there. We need to serve our community, and we need our radios to do that.
Very good. And again, there'll be more on that on dailydodge.com. So we hope you'll be able to read that too. We need to take one more quick break here. When we come back, we'll talk about Beaver Dam's magnificent rotary lights. But first, this break. You're listening to Community Comment on 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.
95.3 WBEV. Here's Terry Bell.
Thank you so much, Jake Hayes, and welcome back, everybody. If you have a question or a comment for Sheriff Schmidt, we still have some time in the show, so you can call us or text us at 920-887-8585, or you can call the WBEV studio line at 885-4446. And once again, if you are interested in what the sheriff has to share with us about the radio system, you can go to the Sheriff's Department's Facebook page or the Dodge County Sheriff's Office, Dodge County website. So all that information is out there. And we'll have more tomorrow on WBEV and at dailydodge.com. All right, so let's pivot.
Okay.
The Rotary Lights, it was another big success, and now it's the tricky part of putting everything away for the season.
Yeah, it's the end of the year is difficult because you get temperatures that are dangerous and it's impossible to get everything taken down. So you notice the lights are still up out there. The city doesn't take these down. The Rotary Club does, and I lead that up as well. And so they're going to be there for a little while longer just because we're waiting for some warmer temperatures. But we'll get them down as we're able. But we have to have a place to go with them. And we have a storage facility right now that we work with the city of Beaver Dam, but that storage facility is not going to be around for much longer, and developments are happening, and we're going to have to replace that. And so I'm working closely with the city to come up with an alternate location. We believe we have one identified. I'm working through those conversations yet, and we're looking at, do we move the storage building we have now, which I don't know if it's going to be feasible, or do we replace it with something else? And it's a large storage facility. We have 9-10 trailers of things that we transport to the park to put things up, and need a workshop space to work on all of these things, and it's a year-round project, and so we really need a facility that meets those needs, gives us the ability to store those large trailers, and some are very, very large trailers. So we are looking for the community's support. We have a couple of prospects that we're looking at. Every little bit is going to help, of course. The Rotary Club may be having to look at bonding if we can't come up with donors, which we're having those conversations as well. It's a large project though, and so if there are companies out there are individuals out there that would like to donate towards that. I don't have a final cost on it, but we're looking in excess of $100,000 to get a building that's going to be suitable for us. And so the community support is going to be very much needed, just like putting the lights up in the first place. So we want to get that out to the community, out to the public, and if you are interested in helping out or you have any ability to work with us in that, I'm happy to get you a part of our conversations that we're having. Like I said, we've got some donors that are interested in starting that off, but every little bit is going to help.
You mentioned some interested donors. What else could the public do at this point to be of help of this, as far as procuring some kind of facility and locating it?
I mean, if there was something that was already built and available for donation or even low rent, we'd certainly consider all of those options. It needs to be a large facility, though. I mean, the one we've got out there now is about 90 by 50 feet, and so it needs to be at least that or bigger. And we really are looking for a place that we're not going to get kicked out of in a couple of years. We want to have some long-term storage, because this is something that I have no interest in giving up anytime in the near future, so it will continue. And so if there are other options, we certainly would explore those other options. We haven't seen that to this point, but certainly would welcome that, or just donations concrete is something we're going to have to put in. That's going to be another cost. If there's ways for us to be able to do that, get a hold of me. You can email me at the sheriff's office, or just go on to bdrotary.org, and under Rotary Lights you can click Contact Us. That email will come to me as well.
Yeah, I should have mentioned at the top of the segment, in addition to being a sheriff, you're also a very active Rotarian, and this is a project that you took up a decade ago and launched, and it has just gotten bigger and better every year. Yeah,
this is going to be the 10th year this next year, so we got to come up with some neat things to do, and Who knows? Maybe we'll even have some naming rights opportunities as part of our 10th year on our new building. Who knows? So it's going to be neat.
Have you had a chance to collect any feedback on this past year's edition of the Rotary Lights?
Everything has been absolutely wonderful. Everybody always says things are a little bit better than the year before. Most of them came out and said this year was a lot better than the years before. The lights that were up in the tree behind the band shell, that was new. Fortunately, that tree needs to come down this year, so I'll have to move those to a different tree next year. All the new candy cane lights that are around the park, the trailers, the hot cocoa stand that we had out there was a hit. Sorry, it's only open typically one day a week, but I got to have. We went through a lot of hot cocoa. I didn't think it was going to be that many containers. We kept ordering every week. I had to order more and more and more. So that was really good. So very, very happy with all of the help that we had from the community and the support. It's been wonderful.
I want to make sure before we go that I don't miss out an opportunity to share with the audience what's happening with iPause?
Yeah.
iPause.
The emergency alert system that we use. I had some questions out there on social media yesterday, so I thought I'd touch on it quick here today.
Okay.
iPause, IPAWS. It's the emergency alert system that we use, just like when you get a tornado warning on your phone. That we have the ability to send those out in a certain geographic area as necessary. Yesterday, we had an incident where we had a missing endangered individual out south of Beaver Dam. And that individual, there was a press release that came out on it later, but I set up an area, as the incident commander, I can set up an area where that needs to go. It didn't go in the city of Beaver Dam. So a lot of people in the city were saying there's an alert. I never got it. Well, that was intentional. I didn't want it to go into the city of Beaver Dam. It's really a geofence type of thing. So we set it up so it was just on the south side of 151, all the way down to, I believe it was Meadow Road, and then I had it going from I believe Blackbird Road over to 151 on the other side. So we only had a small area because the person was on foot. I didn't want everybody in the entire city of Beaver Dam getting an emergency alert if they're not in there. If somebody travels into that area, it goes off on their phone and lets them know. And so if somebody travels there, they'll know about it. If we put it out to everybody all the time, you get that boy who cried wolf syndrome.
Okay.
So we put it in targeted areas when we need it, and we've used it in the past. Had a missing child about a month or so ago that it was very crucial in locating that child. It was outstanding. So it's another tool in our tool belt, and I wanted to give some explanation why people in the city didn't get that alert when they thought they probably should have, and they shouldn't have because they were outside the geofence.
Yeah, you probably answered my next question. Is that I guess without a lot of information, a person would say, well, why not put the word out to cast as wide a net as possible? But you're saying that a more concentrated effort is actually more effective.
Yeah, absolutely. We knew this person was generally in the area. We wanted to find them, and we knew that person hadn't traveled outside of the area. So when you put it out to the neighbors, that's what we were looking for. We were looking for the neighbors in the area to check their outbuildings and things like that. We weren't looking for the mass panic of somebody walking around the city. It was really cold, and we knew that person was in the general vicinity. And we have means of knowing that, and so that's why we went with that area. And of course, if somebody traveled into the area that we were looking, they would then get that alert, and it worked very well. And we located the individual, and then we canceled it.
One good takeaway, I would think, if a number of people were concerned that they didn't get a message, means that people find this a valuable resource.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. And it is a very valuable resource to us, and it goes out to all those cell phones that are in the area, like I said. A lot of people don't know we have that ability to do that, but just like a tornado siren or alert, or a missing person alert, we can do that same thing. And if in an emergency, it might just be hey, shelter in place because we have chemicals in the air or something. We can push those out and have that ability to do so.
Very good. Dodge County Sheriff Dale Schmidt, the hour flew right by. I want to thank you so much for coming back for another edition of Community Comments.
My pleasure. See you next month.
And you've been listening to 95.3 WBEV, powered by Daily Dodge.